encourage pollinators to come back into your yard. So we have some fruit-bearing shrubs that are native to our areas, and the native hollies that I really like to use are like Yukon holly, American holly, inkberry holly. They all bloom in the cooler months, which is really important because everything else goes dormant. So you want to have that supplemental nectar source for your pollinators, and then in turn, once the flower becomes pollinated, then that flower is going to create a berry, which is going to create and entice all kinds of birds to come into your yard. So it's really important to have a couple of fruit-bearing shrubs in your yard, especially if you can't keep up with, basic maintenance of bird feeders and whatnot. So, yeah, and then also there's a really nice catch to it. So like during the winter months, if you like to make wreaths or you like to make center arrangements for your tables, you can also cut down some of the berries like from your trees and stuff them in the arrangements. When you're done, go outside, shove them in your bird feeder, and the birds will eat them right up. Alright, so these are some pictures of some happy birds with some little berries. There's lots of fans of the berries. We've got some towhees, we have eastern bluebirds, mockingbirds, everybody's favorite, and my personal favorite, the cedar waxwing. Like we had learned earlier, the birds will eat the fermented berries and they actually get drunk and they like to fly into the windows in your house, so you'll hear a lot of them when you start they're kind of chewing away at them. So there's this really harmful fruit-bearing shrub. It's very common. It's one of the most common plants in the landscape. It's called Nandina. It's actually native to Asia. It's not even native to this country, and they're usually used as fillers, foundation plants, because they don't go dormant. They're just constantly green, constantly lush. But actually, funny story, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee have all declared this plant as an invasive species. And it's actually been added to the Florida Exotic Pest Plant Council invasive species list as a category 1, which means it's most detrimental to our ecosystems. And this is actually really interesting because I did not know this about this plant until I got an email actually from the Audubon Society. The berries actually contain cyanide. So not only can they kill small children, small dogs, they can kill your cedar waxwings. Basically what had happened, they found this large pool of cedar waxwings all in a pile, and they decided, something's not right. They started writing toxicology reports on this, and they have traced it back to the plants. So the non-sterile cultivars are being found throughout the southeast. They are being spread throughout bird droppings because some of the birds that it doesn't affect, they'll eat the berry, they fly over your national forest, they make a bird dropping, you have an invasive species that's growing in the forest, and once that happens, that invasive species is taking root and it's choking out your other native species. So I mean, it could literally be taking the place of the Yukon holly, which is beneficial to our bird species, to replace it with a bird-killing, cyanide-containing, berry-producing plant. And these are some sad pictures of some birds with Nandina. And if you're not familiar with this plant, I guarantee you've seen it. Sometimes it can be like a tricolor. It's kind of like an auburn, like yellow, lime, green color. Or it could be extremely lush, like a dark green color, and it gets these really pretty berries off of them. And you think that they'd be good for birds because it's red and it's berries, but it's actually not. They're very, very harmful to our bird species. Beauty berries are one of my favorites for the landscapes. Not only do they create beautiful fragrant flowers, but they also produce really delicious berries. And not only can the birds enjoy them, we can also enjoy them. You can make really nice jams and jellies and that sort of thing with them. I really like to use them as like a focal point for the garden, just make it look really big and pretty. It also provides other food for our native species, like our raccoons, our possums, and that sort of thing. And these are some of the beauty berries, if you are not familiar. You'll be able to see them like in full bloom and producing flowers like throughout the summer and into the fall. You get these really pretty purple clumps of berries. Kind of look like a bright blackberry, but they're individual little berries that are on there. Sable palms, these can be found in our local forests, wetlands, and even the most overdeveloped areas in Charleston. I really like these palms because they can soak up a lot of water. They can soak up to like 15 gallons within a couple of days. They also provide shelter for our local bird species and our creatures, like as the Carolina wren, raccoons and squirrels and anoles. They're also hurricane resistant, they're flood resistant, and they can survive freezes and frosts. And this is a really cool fact. So did you actually know that our native bat species, they hibernate in the palm fronds that are coming down? So if you have like a palmetto tree, don't cut your hanging brown fronds like until their little mating season's over. And they also roost in Spanish moss. So. And these are some fun little pictures of some critters that you can find in there. And as you can see, there's our little native bat species down in there. And I want to say there's like 13 native bat species to our
When
city.
is the end of their mating season? Because I see the palms get cut like in April. Is that too soon?
Honestly, I would have to double check that, but I want to say it's like towards the end of the birds' mating season, like closer to summer. But I would double check that fact before you cut or anything. So another harmful species is the ligustrum. This is a very, very popular foundation hedge. I'm pretty sure at least half of you in this room have it. It's in the privet family, and they also produce berries. So again, once these birds come in, they see the berries, they eat the berries, they carry them over our national forests. They're dropping all these invasive species, and they're just kind of spreading like wildfire. But I mean, you know, they also, on the flip side, they do provide like a really nice pollinator source for our pollinators. But you know, you can also swap that out for like some native species for white blooming flowers. I'm sorry.
Read the bottom thing.
So, right. So it's an invasive species. It's extremely invasive. The birds, they indulge and they're given too much, and you know they're given too much nutrients to continue flying, and they make droppings wherever they go. And unfortunately, the birds have to fly to get around, and they are using the restroom mid-flight. So wherever they go, they're dropping little ligustrum berries, and they just kind of grow up and grow out.
But if they eat them and they're not bad for them, what besides multiplying everywhere?
That's exactly the problem, because if you're taking an invasive species and a bird's eating it, and you're taking it, like let's say the bird's flying over the Francis Marion Park, it's hundreds and hundreds of acres going up through Wyandotte, and let's say you have 2,000 birds that decide to eat ligustrum berries. They're all flying over the Francis Marion. You have now 2,000 invasive species of ligustrum sitting in our national park. Since it is an invasive species, when you do control burns, they won't die. You can cut them things back literally to the ground. They will come back. The only way to eradicate that plant 110% is to pull out the root system. So that's what the problem is, because if you're taking and you're dumping invasive species into our national forests, it's choking out opportunities for things to grow, like the Yaupon hollies, the American hollies, the Dahoon hollies, the American beauty berries, stuff like that. It's really important to bring native plants, and if you're not going to plant native, it's important to plant non-invasive species for things like that. Oops. Okay, there's a ligustrum. Okay, so flowers. Like I said, this wasn't the original PowerPoint that was going to go along with this, so I'm going to kind of be rattling some stuff off, and if y'all have any questions, please feel free to ask them. So flowers are a huge role in our ecosystem. One of the most important things to remember when you are trying to entice pollinators to be coming into your garden is you want to have multiple different blooms. You want to have multiple different species. You want to have things that are blooming in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. What I like to do is I like to, put in annuals, and I like to put in tubular flowers and cone-shaped flowers and flat flowers, because the more diversity that you have, the more diversity you're going to have in nature. So if you have, for example, bees, they're very clumsy flyers. So when they're buzzing along, if you have a teeny tiny flower that's that big, majority of the time they're going to miss it. They need something flat and long, so like echinacea, coneflowered. So one of our natives, it's very easy to use as a landing pad, because what they do is they fly in, the flower flies back and forth like this. If it's something that's small and they can't miss it, they're just gonna kind of miss it and fall off, kind of like their pollen drum. Also, a lot of our native species of bees here, they all have different proboscis. So in order for them to feed properly, you do need to provide a plethora of options for them to choose from. And then also when you are choosing to bring hummingbirds into your garden, for example, salvias, 110%, that's their favorite thing. And the reason why, it's the flowers, they're so nectar and nutrient dense. And since hummingbirds, they actually fly using a figure 8. So as you can see, I'm not very coordinated, but that's kind of how they fly. And the reason that they do that is so they can fly frontwards and backwards, but not only that, they can also fly diagonal. So in order to be able to create, those 100 beats per minute, they need to be having a lot of calories. So they want something like salvia that only they can access to swab it inside of the flower, and then they can actually take that and kind of apply that to everything. Yeah, he gets it. And then the same thing with butterflies. You also want to have kind of like that cone-shaped flower. It's really important to invite, diversity into your garden. The one good thing is too, and I'm not knocking natives, I love natives. It's very important to have those in your yard, but it is also very important to have something like a native hybrid in your yard. And the reason that I say that, and some people will fight me tooth and nail with this, but the reason why this is so important is because a lot of the native hybrids, they're taken from our native species and they're built up. They've built up an immunity to extreme heats and extreme temperatures, whether it be really hot or really cold. So it's really important to kind of, have a healthy balance of everything. If you have 5 natives, you can go ahead and plant 5 non-invasive native hybrids. That's totally okay. Don't let anybody ever tell you any different.
What are some examples?
Like for example, this is called Blue Chill. It's a Salvia farinaceae. Those are native to our area. The Blue Chill is a hybrid of one of the natives for our area. Like you have Bee Balm, that's a native to our area. The spotted one, that is a native. This one that I'm growing is a lavender, however. It's just like, it's a very subtle difference, but it's enough to be recognized by the Native Plant Society and, all of those really great organizations out there. These are a couple of really great examples of creating diversity for your gardens. As you can see here, this is one of my favorite gardens. Has lots of salvias, it has some cone flowers, we have some Gerber daisies down here. She also incorporates some annuals throughout the year to kind of get, a jump start on some of the, pollinators coming into her yard. And then this was a project that I did for the city of Georgetown. We had a bunch of low-lying annuals. I used Calibrachoa. Those bloom throughout the entire summer season. They really don't get knocked out unless we have a really bad hurricane and there's just water dumping on it. Then sometimes they kind of fizzle out. Angelonia, that's another really good annual that I like to use. They literally bloom the entire season. They're really low maintenance. You don't have to go out there and cut them every single day.
What are those two? Angelonium?
Angelonia, Anglonia.
What was the other one?
And the other one is Calibrachoa. It's Calibrachoa.
And those are good year-round.
Yes, sir. The Calibrachoas, they're basically like a hybrid of a petunia. They're just smaller and they're a little bit less maintenance, and they're more of a trailing species. They're also known as million bells. That's also a really popular annual for our winter area here because they can thrive not only in the heat, but they can also take a pretty nasty frost too. Not like the freeze that we had this past Christmas, but they can take some cooler weather. And then, it's also important to have your flat flowers like, we have over here, to kind of bring everybody in. Again, cone flowers, they're one of my favorites. It's a beautiful native. Not only does this provide food for our pollinators, it also provides food for birds and insects and bees and butterflies. If you actually let the flowers go to seed in the fall instead of cutting them back, the goldfinches come. And I actually tested this theory this year. I let all my echinacea go to seed, and I had goldfinch for the first time in my life. I've never seen them before. It was a really, really fun experiment. And you can also provide food for cardinals and blue jays. I didn't really see those too much in there, but the goldfinch, they were plentiful. It was great. And then if you don't want to do that, you can always just collect the seeds and just kind of scatter them. They'll sit dormant and then they'll pop up in the spring. And you can also use it for medicinal purposes too. I'm really huge on medicinal plants. I think it's really important to kind of get back to our roots instead of running to the doctor every time we need anything. It can help with allergies. It actually can help combat cancer. It boosts the immune system and it alleviates pain and GI troubles as well. I think it's an absolute must. I want to sign a garden without it. And these are some of the examples of it. And again, back to the native hybrid theory, these are the Echinacea purpurea, and this is the wildberry echinacea. Again, it's a native, it's just a small hybrid. There's a little bit of difference just in color, not in purpose though. Salvias, these are my favorite. There are over 900 different cultivars of salvias. Some are native, while others are native hybrids that boast bountiful blooms, and they actually hold multiple American Seed Winner awards. A lot of them are cut and come again flowers. They're perfect for any backyard garden, and they will literally get you jump started because they are so easy to grow. Anyone can grow them. I'm not exaggerating. I would literally look at a plant and they would die. These I can grow. I'm like, really good. This was like what helped me get started. It gave me a lot of confidence. The good thing that I really also like about them, not only are they deer resistant, they are drought resistant. They bloom from literally spring to frost. And when I say frost, like 28-degree frosts. And there's just really not any drawback, I think, from those flowers. And they also provide an assortment of different flowers, and they literally cater to every pollinator and insect. Like, for example, I literally have multiple different species of salvia on this table, and every single bloom is different. We've got flower spikes, we've got the tubulars, and we have like a short tube, and then we have almost like an elephant-shaped bloom. It kind of looks like that. So every single thing that we're trying to attract, you can use it by attracting different flowers. It's also really important to have a wide range of color in your yard as well. So like, don't just stick to one color, don't just stick to red, because of hummingbirds. Like, hummingbirds will enjoy any kind of salvia, it doesn't matter what color they are. Same thing with bees. You know, bees prefer blue and purple, but they're not going to turn down an orange, yellow, pink, red, you know, any other color flower. And these are actually some pictures. I had a dear friend of mine come up to the farm one day, and they took some pictures of some hummingbirds. So these are actually all live pictures using my plants and hummingbirds. So these are the ruby-throated hummingbirds. They're actually a native hummingbird to our area as well, and they'll be coming back here in about a week or two.
I saw one this week. They're here.
There you go. I'm letting all my salvia go to bloom in my backyard, so I'm happy to see one too. But yeah, so like they'll migrate to Florida usually for, you know, cooler months, and then they typically start to fly north once everything comes back to normal. But as you can see in this picture, they like red, they like blue, they like purple, they like pink. They don't discriminate, so don't just think you gotta have one solid color in your yard. Monarda, this is bee balm. Everyone's really familiar with this. Like I said, you know, our native species is the spotted bee balm. There are plenty of hybrids that you can use in place of this. I really like them because they're like more of a clumping species. There are trailing species of bee balm. I like more of the upright ones. I like to stack a bunch of things in my garden instead of just having a bunch of things running all over. It drives me crazy. I think it looks a little messy, but and again, this is a very versatile plant. It can be, you know, planted in very loamy soil, sandy soil, very hot. And then, you know, it can also thrive in the mountains of North Carolina. So, and literally the same exact species. It's just very versatile. And once the flowers are finished blooming, you can actually just leave them there because they're really pretty. They drop seeds, they reseed themselves, and they'll create like a little bee balm forest around there. And it also provides a plentiful food source for not only bees, but hummingbirds and butterflies as well. And there's some different options of bee balm. I did grow the spotted bee balm before, and that was the one out here. And this year we're growing the other two, the purple and the pink. Not the red, but the purple and pink. This is a very important thing to me. This is why I like to do my talks. So milkweed, this is a very important native species throughout the entire United States, not only South Carolina, but throughout North America. This flower is adapted to so many different climates. It can survive in California, it can survive in the prairies, it can survive down in Mexico, it can survive down in the swampy, boggy parts of, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and there's even some species that can thrive up north. This flower is so important, and you hear this word so many times because this is the only host plant for the now endangered species, the monarch butterfly. They've declared this as an endangered species. I want to say it was last June. Do you know? I want to say it was last summer. It was either June or July, and we've been seeing a very large gradual decline. You can go ahead and you can blame it on climate change. You can go ahead and do that. But you know what the real problem is? It's herbicides. Using pesticides in your garden, herbicide, you got chemical runoff, and a lot of things that people don't understand is soil contaminants. They can actually ruin your soil for up to 15 years. The only way to purge that is to do a charcoal drench, and you have to do that multiple times. You have to till, and then you have to keep replenishing your garden, and nobody wants to do that. And the really unfortunate thing is, even like the most organic people that are out there, all the word organic means is just a dumbed down version of an actual chemical. So like, let's say we have this chemical right here, and then I have an organic compound over here. This organic compound's only going to carry 5 to 10% less of the chemical in this one, so it's safer. Not so much, but it's still a very large problem that really needs to be addressed, because not only do you have chemical runoff issues, when you do have chemical runoffs, it's getting evaporated and it's getting spread all over the United States and all over the world. There was actually these two scientists that have confirmed that there is not a single centimeter on this planet that has not been touched by a human-made pesticide. So it's very important to try and instill all of this into the younger generations and all the kids, all the grandkids. So it's very, very something that's very important, because unless we do something about this pesticide application, because milkweed is a weed, and if you're constantly spraying herbicides, then this is just going to keep eradicating this plant. And, deforestation's not really helping with that problem either. But until we get a grip on pesticide application, the population's going to continue to plummet. And, in the next 20 years, they're expecting that this isn't even going to be a species anymore. So we really got to step up to the plate and do something. So as you know, or you may not know, I'm a Monarch Way Station. We've raised over 200 monarch butterflies, and we raised and released them. Somebody actually told me, you should go and get registered through the state. So we are a legitimate Monarch Way Station. We actually have over 1,000 milkweed plants growing this year. We are giving some to our friends over at R&R Acres. Her name is Rebecca. She's the most knowledgeable, hardworking woman I have ever met in my entire life. She's actually devoting a whole patch of her garden to milkweed to help increase the monarch population. Really great woman. But it is very important. I'll just give you a little lowdown real quick. So when we did raise them, the caterpillars go through 5 instars. So they start really, really teeny tiny. They're like the size of a grain of rice, if not smaller. And then they just kind of keep jumping in size. And then once you get to that 4th and 5th instar, man, I tell you, those little boogers get hungry. And they will just mow down a plant in a matter of minutes. So I want to say this is probably the 4th or 5th instar. When they start to crawl really fast, that's how you know that's the 4th one. And then when they start to get really sluggish, that's the 5th. So when they start to get sluggish, they'll hang in a J formation right there, and then they start to turn green. And it's a crazy process, because this green goo starts oozing out of them. And they create this chrysalis, and this chrysalis is like a really pretty bright green color, and it has little dots of gold on it. It's an absolutely incredible process to watch. So it kind of roasts in there for about 9 to 10 days. Once it turns black, kind of like that, see-through, that's when your butterfly's about to emerge. When your butterfly's about to emerge, it stays like this, but it doesn't come out looking like this. It's all crumpled. It's got to sit there, and it's got to pump its wings. It's very important to have a nectar source ready to go for these guys. So we would let them pump for a couple of hours, then we would bring them. I used to put them in a cooler, little styrofoam cooler, and I would bring them down to the farm and let them kind of do their thing. an interesting fact. You want to know how to tell a boy versus a girl? So the boys, they actually have scent glands. So as you can see, the one on my face, there's two little teeny tiny dots right here. That one's a male. Those are the scent glands. And then if you look at this one right here, how the bands are really thick and they almost kind of look like they're bleeding through the orange a little bit, those are the females.
Do the butterfly boxes, is that just a novelty or do they work?
I can't attest to that.
Okay.
I know they have them at Key West Butterfly Conservation, and I've seen them go in there. I think they're fine in nature.
Okay,
I'm not gonna say anything though.
gotcha.
But that's the end of my presentation. Like I said, I know it's a little bit different than what I'd originally planned for, but again, technology is just not my strong point, so I apologize. But I hope y'all enjoyed, and if y'all have any questions, please feel free to ask. We've got plenty of plants over here if y'all ever want to take some home. But,
What all do you have over there? Salvia, I know.
Yes, so we have the like a stacked cone variety over here, the blue chill. It's a dual tone, it's blue and white. We have pineapple sage. We have a fashion series, which is very good for the hummingbirds. It's like a really pretty rose color. And then we have a macrophylla. It's a really small variety. It's called Hot Lips, and it's a double bloom. It's pink and white. It's like hot pink and white. Then we have a dwarf variety. It's called Mystic Spires, and it's like a true blue flower. And then we have a couple of annuals just for like some planters that'll produce blooms throughout the year.
So I was investigating milkweed last year, and
I know the question you're about to ask.
you do? Well, then go ahead and.
All right. I love fighting this fight. This is my favorite fight to
Oh
argue
no,
with
I
people.
don't have a
All right,
fight. It's not a-
no, this is important. I'm really happy you said this because he's doing a Facebook Live, so this is great. Okay, so Asclepias curasivica is the tropical milkweed. The Xerces Society came out and they published this horrific article saying, if you plant this, you're a horrible person. If you plant this, it's going to devastate the monarch population. Blah, 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 blah. It's all bogus. Okay, first of all, if we keep putting that out there, the monarchs are going to be completely gone. We have such a hot climate here in South Carolina. We kind of have a little microclimate. We have like a little bubble where I'm not even kidding. I live in Georgetown. I'm 60 miles north of Charleston. It's a 10 degree difference. Okay? So when you're living in areas like this, tropical is good. We have the same exact climate of Florida. We have really high humidity. We have really high temperatures. And that's a beautiful thing about the tropical milkweed because it grows so well. You can literally get these plants so they can grow up to here. Where if you go with a native species, again, not knocking it, Asclepias tuberosa, Asclepias syriaca, Asclepias, what's another good one? Anyways, all of them grow different. Even if you go with incarnata, it's the swamp milkweed, it's a great one. They only get about this tall. They crap out halfway through summer because they just can't handle the heat. Tuberosa, again, great species, more of a mounding species from what I've seen. You can go with, the native hybrid, the Hello Yellow. Those are really, really great. Sometimes those can get a little bit tall, but half the time it depends on the people that you get your seed from, because sometimes they can also grow like the tuberosa, since that's what they are. They will only get about, 18 inches tall. You don't want that. If you're raising a colony of monarchs, you want something that's going to grow fast, that's going to provide a lot of food, that they thoroughly enjoy. The reason why they have dubbed this plant is so bad, and I absolutely think this is hilarious, because this is how all milkweed reproduce. They get these seed pods, and they've deemed this as an invasive species because all milkweed are invasive. They get these seed pods, and if you don't want them to spread, this is a really great thing. You can actually harvest your seeds. If you go to a jewelry store, I'm sure they even offer them with the earrings that they have, the little drawstring bags. You can plop those over your seed pods, just tie it off. And then you can collect your seeds, you can give them to seed banks, you can pass them out to your neighborhood, give them to your library. I know a lot of libraries are doing seed exchanges now. And you can actually pawn them off like that if you don't want to have multiple species. But I don't understand why you wouldn't want to have multiple species for an endangered species of animal. But
What's the
That's
best
not-
milkweed?
again, you can use a couple of them. The tuberosa, that's like our most native. I would probably recommend that one. I think it grows the best. The showy milkweed, Asclepias speciosa, that's another good one too.
That wasn't my question though. My question was what I was reading about it. I mean, that's all very informative.
Yes.
I'm gonna-
Sorry, I had to do that.
It was, it said, you had to, do all this stuff to the seeds. You had to like give it like a milk bath or some kind of, you had to the process seems very involved, so my question, where can you, do you need to do all that? And if not, where do you get the seeds and, where can you buy them and can you just plant them?
Okay, so my favorite place to get my seeds from is Baker Creek. Baker Creek Heirlooms, they have a really great species and park seed as well. Baker Creek is the one place that's out there that I know has like every American milkweed that you have. They also have the highest yield that I found. There's plenty of other good, seed companies out there, but that's like really just top tier for me.
You don't have to soak them and all that?
No, so I don't. The one thing I do is cold stratification, and that's just a fancy word for put it in the refrigerator for like a week before you plant it. That's what I do. But also one more thing I do want to touch on. We're gonna go back to the Asclepius conversation with all of the native milkweeds. So basically, on my other presentation, I had the little graph, but there's a monarch migration plaque, and you can look it up, and it has a time frame of everything. So let's just say you're raising your monarchs. Come September, you have that last brood leave, cut it to the ground. It doesn't matter what species you have, because a lot of them will not die back. Like I know the swamp milkweed that usually kicks off like in the middle of summer. That's not really what you want it to, but the rest of them will usually stay through for the rest of the season. And the reason why, everybody says that the tropical milkweed's so bad is because it's usually the last one to die. And if you don't properly care for them, you don't properly cut them back, then it's going to encourage butterflies that are traveling down from New England to Mexico for the Great Migration. They're going to be laying eggs on that, and then you're going to have to be overwintering them. And I've actually known people that have had that happen. They drive them to Florida to give them that extra push. Because they have problems, like once the temps drop below 50 and they start getting into the 40s, they don't move as fast and they won't make it. So that's another really big thing. And another argument for that Asclepius, for the Curra civica, the tropical milkweed, is that it's a host for OE. It's this spore that infects monarchs, and realistically any plant can carry this. All it takes is one sick butterfly to land on the flower, and then it's going to kind of taint the whole plant. But with that kind of rapidly evolving, scientists are at a point where they're like, they either need to learn to adapt and grow from this, or it's just going to completely knock the species out. I mean, it's kind of a two-way street. So.
How can you be sure that you're getting the right hybrid for our area for the milkweed? Will it say it on there that it's a hybrid?
Yeah,
Okay.
usually. Depending on who you get from. I know I actually bought a tag printing machine for my milkweed that I'm going to be taking. I actually will be at Plantasia, and we'll have at least like 300 or 400 milkweed, if not more. It's the largest plant sale of the Southeast. So it's April 29th, and it's from 8 to 2. And I want to say it's at Magnolia.
It is.
It is? Okay, perfect.
Or it
yeah.
was last year, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to be holding it there this year. I'm bringing 2 U-Haul trailers down full of plants. So should be good.
And where is it? I mean, what date is it?
April 29th. It's the last Saturday in April from 8 to 2. And all of our local growers will be there. Rita's Roots will be there with her veggies. Roots and Shoots will be there with their native species. I'll be there. My good friend Brenda with Let It Grow, she'll be there. She also focuses on native species. I'm not sure who else will be there. Oh, Sea Island Savory Herbs, they'll also be there, and they have like herbs and that sort of thing. So.
Do milkweed require damp
That's what
soil?
we buy.
It depends. I mean, I would definitely water them, but the good thing about milkweed is they are really hardy perennials. So they have tap roots that go down really far. So they are drought resistant, so you do want to be sure to water them. But if you are out of town or something for like 3 or 4 days and they skip water, it's not a problem. Any more questions?
So your nursery's in Georgetown, right?
Yes, sir. And we are open by appointment only. I run a landscape design company, and I also run a plant maintenance company as well. So so it's kind of hard to get me to sit still in a spot, but,
Or still ever?
yes, yeah, that, literally if I'm sitting down, I'm either eating or sleeping, so it's one of the two. But, yeah, my numbers are all on there, so, you can find us there. We're also gonna be back in Johns Island Farmers Market starting next Saturday, and we will be there every single Saturday except for May 13th and June 10th. We'll be there until we sell out for the season, so. And you can also find our plants at Royal Ace Hardware on Pullman, and you can find them at Sweetgrass too,
Oh,
down by 41.
So Johns Island is starting next Saturday.
It's year round, but I'm going back, there next Saturday. I'm kind of a more seasonal vendor. I don't know, gas got kind of really expensive there for a minute, and I took a little break coming to Charleston every weekend.
More
Do you do
questions?
landscape design
Yeah.
around here?
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. So I have done over 100 residential homes. I'm now starting to get into commercial. We grow, maintain, and install for all the home team locations. We do a couple lawyers' offices, and we're actually gonna be redoing Barca downtown. Making it kind of part of their sanctuary down there. So you can find our work. It's very colorful and pretty. 9 out of 10 times it's our plants. I'm just kidding, no, but really.
So will you come and look at a yard and say, and kind of scale it out?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Cool.
Yes. And we are actually hiring some landscaping crew right now, so if y'all have some kids, some college kids that are coming back from school, please let me know. It's a very, very hard time to find employees that wanna work right now. And,
Great
we had a
job.
really, a couple of unfortunate events happen to some of our employees right now. We're kinda, at a loss, so any little bit helps.
Have
We've
you
gotta-
considered reaching out volunteers? I mean, there's a lot of retired people up in that area that love plants, that would love to gain the knowledge. Have you
Yes.
considered that source?
I'm not sure if the landscaping capacity would be volunteer friendly. So the things we're doing, I feel like volunteers might show up and be like, "You want me to do what?"
Oh,
So-
yeah, not that. I meant in your house, in your.
But for the nursery, yeah,
Yeah.
we love taking on volunteers. We've actually had a handful of volunteers reach
Yeah.
out to us this
Just
past
to learn the
season
knowledge.
with senior centers and stuff. It's a really exciting thing. We're trying to get things up to that par. We're kind of like mid-construction. We had a lot of hurdles to bounce over this past season, so
Well, you're doing very good. Keep
thank
doing
you.
it.
Thank you.
Proud of
Thank
it.
y'all so much.
Thank you so much, Destiny.
Thank
If you want to
you.
do the honors of trying the raffle ticket there. Got a little gift bag for the winner.
That's it, that's. We got Andrew.
This
Oh,
is
yay.
Andrew.
Mr. Andrew, there you go.
Andrew, yay.
Wonderful.
Pass that down as well. All right.
And I'm actually gonna draw one out of here and somebody's gonna take home a free plant. How about that? Alright, and we have Dottie Mays.
Oh, yeah.
Yay!
Good job. Nice.
Feel free to take your pick, Miss Dottie.
All right.
Yeah.
Get these cables out. John, can you get these?
I started taking notes.
We got
I
a
love
kitchen.
that. No, I better take it outside.
Hold on.
You're right.